Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Lieutenant Dan. This is Unintentional Grounding Live. How is everybody doing today? We're going to have a really interesting discussion today because I start off every show with, oh, we're going to have a really good discussion. Oh, we're going to have something really, really cool going to happen on the show. Oh, we're going to have this and that and the other. But this really does break down everything that's going on with drafting for the NFL, the Falcons, and how they're going to be doing things going forward. And how the NFL is going to be changing. And, of course, how the Falcons using these players and how their contract situations work right now, how that may change going forward. So let's get right into the discussion. Let's check out the chat and say hi. Good to see Real Patman and David Wright in the chat. If any of you guys and gals watching this stream want to say hi, you're more than welcome to go into the chat. Hit me up there in the chat with any of your questions. I'll try to pay attention to the most that I can, but if you have something pressing that you want to have discussed or talked about, you are more than welcome to hit the super chat down at the bottom. There's a little $sign down at the bottom, and I will read your stuff before I continue on with whatever topics or discussion points that I have. All right. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. I was having a discussion with my admins here and some of the Falcons fans that were, working on Twitter. And to be honest with you guys, I don't go on Twitter to report everyday simple things. That I can leave that up to regular Falcons media because I don't need to get in, those particular lanes and get, beat up by peeps that have particular opinions. I comment on things that I feel are more important or I feel need to be clarified. Any of the little stuff, a transaction here, a transaction there, I might make a little comment. But when it comes straight down to it, when somebody asks me a question or somebody says something that I feel needs to be truly clarified, I go out there and I go clarify it. It's just easy, just that simple. But I was talking with some of the peeps that are in my admin chat, which, by the way, we are making a Unintentional Grounding Facebook group. I will be working on that after this. But I was hitting up some of the guys on Twitter. I was hitting up some of the guys on my chat about the situation with Julio Jones, not the off-the-field contract stuff, but just the touchdowns. The numbers. And I had also just, huge shout out, by the way, to Brett Coleman, who kind of has been a sleuth, a detective to what is going on in the NFL. How's it changing? And this all ties in hand with these two things. So go check out Brett Coleman's channel. He just went over 100,000 subs. Hopefully I can even begin to get closer to 5 or 10,000. But hey, that's up to you guys. Having you guys share this content with peeps and you guys thinking this is good or bad content. But hold on one second. Hold on. Get down, stupid cat. So I was thinking about, okay, so the NFL is changing. And the Falcons are in a pickle right now with contract situations. Julio Jones, we just paid Freeman not but a year or two ago. We got high-paid corners in Alford and True. We've got situations where some of the best players on our defense and offense are going to start needing money. So, the Keanu Neals, the Deion Jones, the Grady Jarrett's of the world, Vic Beasley's, Devondre Campbell's, you're going to see these guys start asking for some money. And I just looked over our draft again for the millionth time. I think anybody that looks at the draft or watches the show or does their own sleuthing can go, maybe there's something a little different about this. And it takes a couple weeks to really understand why. But all of that being said, I kind of was talking to those peeps on Twitter, talking to those peeps in Facebook groups, talking to those peeps in my personal chat for the admins, and then, checking out what Brett Coleman was saying about the NFL changing. And it kind of hit me that the Falcons might be doing an old way of drafting, an old way of building rosters, an old way of paying players and prioritizing what the NFL is doing right now as far as flux and change. And it's going to continue to change and morph. I mean, only a couple of years ago, the power back was the most important thing in the NFL. And having that I formation was more important than throwing the ball. Then a couple of years later, 5 wide. And actually, some time before that, the read option or the wildcat was highly popular and was working. Want to say hi to John Williams and Rose Stackson, who have just joined the chat. Give me 1 second, folks. If it's not one thing, it's another. Of course, that's always how my shows go. It's not one thing, it's another. But what I was saying was the way that the Falcons are doing things might be, an old way of doing things, an old way of drafting, an old way of setting up a team. Because, like I just said, only a couple of years ago, it was more important to have a true number one wide receiver, an X, a true number one running back. Then the Wildcat came in. Then this league turned into a passing league, 5 wide. And now, because, the Patriots really made this trend, now it's you've got to have a high-quality tight end, a high-quality offensive line, a high-quality defensive line, and really more or less the emphasis has been put on high-quality defenses over really anything. And you really, really need to have less money invested in the positions of the old days, the big-time running back, the big-time wide receiver, the big-time corner. Those positions are no longer leading positions in the NFL. Quarterback has always been leading. Quarterback has always been a top position in the league. If you don't have a quarterback, go get one. And if you do have a quarterback, that quarterback needs to be one of the best in the league. If not, second-tier quarterback or third-tier quarterback that can at least handle their liquor, NFL quality liquor, which is getting a beating, making your throws, throwing your touchdowns, reading defenses, commanding a team, and being a leader. Those are not but a few qualities that an NFL quarterback has to have to be able to lead a franchise. Not every team's going to get it. No team in here is going to have 100 Tom Brady's. Okay, there's only so many Tom Brady's that grow on so many trees. Right, you for the win. Good to see you in the chat. So, to explain what I'm talking about, Julio Jones is asking for a new deal. It's because we paid Matt Ryan a mega deal. And insurance is a huge thing for Julio Jones right now because he doesn't want to be left on the wayside, just like those of you that can remember Roddy White doing the exact same thing. I don't want to be left to the wayside. I don't want to be an expendable piece. Pay me my big money. I'm going to hold out at camp. And that's what Roddy White did. He was able to get his money. And then the team a couple years later cut him down the road. And so that is the story of Julio Jones right now, asking for more longevity, asking for more confidence in the organization, in his skills and what he can bring to the team. And it's undeniable when we actually look at the facts that Julio Jones is one of the top wide receivers in the league and therefore will get paid big time money for his services. But the draw now, and of course, I'm not saying or advocating that you should not pay big time players, but I am advocating that there's maybe a chance that the Falcons put too many eggs in their basket and got less than amount of the chickens in return. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, in my mind, I think NFL offices now, quality NFL front offices, are maybe turning to what the Eagles did. And this is a shout out to Brent Coleman on his video about how the NFL is changing and will adapt to exactly what the Eagles did, draft-wise, free agency-wise, however they did what they did, to be able to get a Super Bowl. Every team does it. They always look at who the Super Bowl winner was and how they got there and, morph their team to be a little more like the Super Bowl winner. So let's look at the Falcons situation and kind of compare it to what the Eagles did. What did the Eagles do to be a quality Super Bowl team? This is not a what you can learn from the Eagles to win a Super Bowl. This is what did the Eagles do to go win a Super Bowl and what can the Falcons do to copy some of that success. So let's break it down. And Brett Coleman, man, he brought some fire in this last video. It was about 4 days ago, 6 days ago, something like that. And I just gotta break this down. I think it's genius. And it's really changed my perspective too, which also says a lot to what this Falcons team did in this draft. It's very interesting now that I broke that down, then watch the draft and come back to it again. The Atlanta Falcons got a lot of value in their draft in 2018. Isaiah Oliver, clearly a first-round talent, dropping to the second round, and they were able to pick that up. Jadon Sanat was being talked about second or third round. They got him in the third round. And Calvin Ridley in the first round, who was supposed to go in the first 15 picks, was able to get to pick 26 to the Atlanta Falcons. And everything after that was all key pieces, looking forward. But when you kind of break it down to what the Eagles did recently, and Michael Larry, good to see you in the chat, as well as PS and Tim Dawson, Deranged Donut, and the Bad Company Gaming. Good to see all of you guys in the chat as well. The Eagles went out and paid for top quality linemen. Defensively and offensively, it has changed the dynamic of the NFL. And the Eagles were ahead of the trend on that. And one of those big trends that needs to be broken down is quality right tackles are just as important and should be drafted just as high as quality left tackles in this NFL. And everybody in here is going to, what? You're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. The Eagles went out only a few years ago and they went and got themselves a quality right tackle worth a first-round pick and stuck him out there, paid him mega bucks to begin with to keep him there, along with a quality left tackle and guards that know how to do their job with a center that is arguably, and it's a steal, arguably should be named one of the better ones in the entire league. And the depth behind that on the O-line helped them to succeed. Why do you need a quality right tackle just as much as you need a quality left tackle? For so many years, quality left tackles were needed because the best pass rusher was coming from the blind side. NFL teams were drafting quality pass rushers to come off the left-hand side of the offensive line, and so you needed the best offensive lineman to be your left tackle. Nowadays, that narrative has completely changed. And big money and quality draft picks are being used on defensive ends coming from the strong side. Look at guys like Vic Beasley and Von Miller, just to name two, but not the most important ones. And you can go watch Brent Coleman's video. He breaks this down much better than I will. But now those quality pass rushers are coming from both sides of the ball. And everyone in here will go, up, no brainer. You always need quality pass rushers on both sides of the ball. But more investment now in defensive line depth, especially from the right-hand side, is being developed, is being drafted. And you're seeing that quality on the right-hand side because there are less quality right tackles in this league, and we know that to be true. And so now it is incredibly important, especially after the boom that is the quarterback throwing for 300 yards per game limit breaker that's happening in the league. It is important to get pressure on a quarterback, and the weakest part of offensive lines around the league is the right tackle. And over the past couple of years, NFL teams have been slowly but surely morphing to, wow, you know what's really important? Having a really quality left tackle. But you know what's even more important? We have to counter what defensive teams are doing, especially what Seattle did, Baltimore did, the Steelers, the Eagles just recently in their Super Bowl run, the Vikings. The right tackle is now incredibly important to go and lock down, almost so much that you might want to use a first-round pick. And we can debate whether or not it should be a top 5 or a top 10 or a top 15 or, just in the first round anywhere in the 32 picks where you go get yourself a quality right tackle. But if you're missing a quality right tackle, go find one now because you'll be ahead of the curve, or at least within the same realm of the curve that's happening right now in the NFL of quality right ends and left ends. You can at least start that negotiation process as a team. Find a quality right tackle and stop the trend from happening where other right tackles of lesser quality are getting abused by these right ends and left ends, swapping from side to side to the right tackle and abusing them. Speed kills. That's why the Falcons went out and got Takk McKinley and Vic Beasley, because speed is important, especially against right tackles of subpar class. That's why Vic Beasley in 2016 lit up the league, because he went off against right tackles that are not as athletic and not as powerful and not as good and not of quality. So the league has morphed, which is the reason why the Atlanta Falcons, when they found that Ryan Schrader was good enough, or at least, top 25 caliber in this league, they locked him down. And so nowadays, tackles are so important. Of course, the entire offensive line is important, but right tackles are now just as high on the tier list now as left tackles. You must have that importance, which means, where is your money going? Eagles locked up a bunch of guys on the offensive line. And they were able to pay a good chunk of their money to that offensive line to keep that offensive line together. The Atlanta Falcons will need to find that rhythm, that setup. And Jake Matthews is the start of it, but Ryan Schrader got that big contract maybe about a year ago, and they started the process of trying to be ahead of the curve. And now we see that with the corners in Philly. Now I transition to the next part. Are the Atlanta Falcons ahead of the curve when it comes to corners? The drafting of Isaiah Oliver in the second round in 2018 speaks volumes that getting guys day 2, day 3 may be more important than getting a guy day 1 and overpaying for that value. And system-adjusted round fit shows that you will go out and go grab guys that obviously fit your scheme to the best, and you can go get those guys in later rounds, but usually you will go pull those guys up from the later rounds to the round that you're in at the moment, or wait for that quality to fall to you at a particular spot. That is system-adjusted round fit in a nutshell, and that's what the Falcons did for round 2 of the NFL draft. Dedrin Senat and Isaiah Oliver on day 2, picking up both of those guys, were huge upgrades. Having a quality defensive line and having a quality offensive line is number one, and investing in those left and right tackles and left and right ends is super, super important. But having quality corners and quality safeties is a completely different story, and especially with the drafting of Isaiah Oliver, getting that quality talent at later rounds is now proving every single team must follow that trend going forward, because corners are just like running backs in the same tier. You can go get quality later. Yes, I am saying in a certain part, and this is Brett Coleman, kind of living through me, because while being hit or miss in Philly, they were able to go get quality guys in the later rounds. I'm not saying that you shouldn't jump for the high-quality Jalen Ramseys of the world, the Patrick Petersons, and so on and so forth. But when I look at the quality of guys that you can go get in the later rounds, just like you can go get quality running backs in the later rounds, the guys like, Casey Hayward, Darius Slay, Janoris Jenkins, day 2, or day 3, you go get Sherman or Josh Norman, or, get undrafted guys like AJ Boye and Brent Grimes and Malcolm Butler. You don't have to go first-round talent and pay big money for first-round corners when you can go get those talents in day 2 or day 3, which is the same with running backs. Which means that the Falcons now need to begin the process of getting the best quality safeties that they can, because nowadays these oversized wide receivers, or tight ends that they call them, are abusing the field, and safeties are the ones that mostly play on those tight ends. The Falcons system does a little bit of 50-50 with their safeties like Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen, and their linebackers in the Deion Jones or Devondre Campbells of the world covering these tight ends. And there's no one way to get it right, obviously. There's multiple ways to get it right. But the way that the Eagles did it is almost similar to what the Atlanta Falcons do, except for their calls a little more 50-50 linebacker safeties. You never see our corners on tight ends. That is a mistake. Because tight ends of the world nowadays are more athletic, more powerful, score more, and they're also great blockers. So when I see the Falcons with these 2 massive contracts on Robert Alford and Desmond Trufant, and I see these massive contracts handed out to these running backs in Devontae Freeman, and maybe in the future we might see Tevin Coleman get a nice little chunk of money from the Falcons. We don't know. And I see the Falcons handing out money to Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, who Jones by training camp will have some type of flexed contract. We don't know what it will be. But when you're going back there and you're looking at the contracts that we've handed out recently and what contracts we will have to hand out in the future, you're starting to see, oh, this might have been a bad way of handing our money out. This might be a bad way of drafting. This might be a bad way of setting up our players, the ones that are most important, with the dollar, you know? Go grab yourself quality wide receivers and obviously hold on to them, but where's the quality at tight end? Where's that piece of the field that stretches bad safeties or bad linebackers? The Falcons really don't have that. That's the truth. Those who are disillusioned with Austin Hooper are these recent Eric Saubert premonitions from OTAs. Just remember that for 2 years, Austin Hooper hasn't done jack, and Eric Saubert looked awful last year and is now just getting praise for his hard work at OTAs and minicamp. So let me not discourage people, obviously, from saying, you know, get yourself a top-tier running back and a top-tier wide receiver and try to pay all those pieces in a difficult juggling ballroom dance that is the NFL cap situation and drafting and keeping players together in free agency. Let me not discourage that, but let me say that there is a cleaner path to doing, you know, top-tier work with B to B plus players, at least initially ranked. Look what the Eagles just did. They had a top corner that they just let go and let the Saints pick up. And they went and drafted some more corner support. Don't they have Sidney Jones that they got in the second or third round? That's just sitting back there. Hasn't even played a down yet. And is going to come in here and be probably a top corner for them. Look at Atlanta. They just got Isaiah Oliver. And there's a chance that a guy like Robert Alford and a guy like Desmond Trufant, those guys might just be let go for, and this is talking about the future, I'm not talking about now, but those players might get let go for an Isaiah Oliver who's cheaper, younger, and might become just as efficient. And that would also open up a lot of cap space for Atlanta going forward to pay guys like Grady Jarrett and Takk McKinley and Vic Beasley to keep those guys on the defense still there. And allow the Atlanta Falcons to go and invest in possibly a new left tackle if you are one that does not believe there will be enough money to pay Jake Matthews. And also the potential that the Atlanta Falcons will have to get a brand new center and pay big money to get a brand new center. They like veteran centers. They don't like having to build that kind of stuff up. So you never know. So for those of you that are envisioning the Falcons being able to barely scrape by on some of these players, but able to keep some of the, the fan-friendly ones, the ones that everyone really enjoys watching and wanting to keep that talent, hoard it on the team, just be aware that this is a business and that the Falcons may move on from some of this talent to get younger, faster, and stronger and have more depth. Because placing so much money into corners is probably one of the worst ideas that you could possibly do, because you can find that talent, that depth from the later rounds. You just can. It's possible. It's known. It's a fact. You can go find that. Does it work out 100%? No. But you're taking a risk, a gamble, and usually 60-40, this will pay off for you because you will find guys that will develop well. Because there's a lot of corners in college. A lot of good corners in college. There's not a lot of great corners in college. There's not a lot of elite corners in college. Those will be scooped up within the first 20 picks. But there are a lot of corners that will come out with injuries, and there's a lot of corners that will come out that will be underrated, that you can go grab later. There will be a lot of corners like Isaiah Oliver that will fall into the second round, and you can go grab that. But the Falcons are sitting in a situation right now where man, Ricardo Allen's coming back, and Keanu Neal, he's been good. But having quality safeties, especially having 3 or 4 quality safeties, might be more pressing for the Falcons going into 2019's draft, into 2019's free agency. And letting go a lot of the fat on this cow might be the best situation for Atlanta. Giving long-term contracts to Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, and giving long-term contracts to guys that are 100% buying into the system and working at the top of their game is not a bad thing. But knowing the trend of the NFL and where you can get talent is another. Where you can get quality running backs, don't have to hoard Freeman or Coleman. You can go find guys like Alvin Kamara in the 3rd and 4th round and turn them into superstars. I'm 100% ready for Ito Smith to come out and prove me right. Because I think he will. I think Ito Smith will prove me right. He's a shifty little guy that might be on Freeman's level in 2 or 3 years. I promise you that a running back for the Atlanta Falcons will come in these next couple of drafts, or possibly the Ito Smith of the world, and eventually supersede your Devontae Freeman and just be like, I'm just a cheaper, better option. It's just how it is. The Falcons are going to have to invest, and this is where I'm going to take my coffee break for just a second. The Falcons are going to have to invest in the corner and linebacker position in the next couple of years. Eventually having a lot of quality corners, and eventually having a lot of quality safety help, and eventually locking down guys like Deion Jones and Vondre Campbell for a very long time, and shifting that money that we have been putting in 1 or 6 or 5 players, shifting that money and paying a lot of other guys and playing the gamble game. And a lot of fans are not going to want to see that, but the gamble is going to happen. The NFL is a casino, a massive, large, constantly moving casino. The games are always changing. The rules are always being bent and rewritten. How things work and how the games are done are always differently. How to play the games is always different. And the Falcons are going to have to continue to evolve. That's the evolution of Dan Quinn, the evolution of Thomas Dimitroff, the evolution of Steve Sarkisian, getting as much help as you possibly can, as much knowledge as you possibly can, and trying to catch up with the trends that are happening. You don't want to be behind the trends. You want to be either with the trends or setting them. That's 100% of this game. Because you can have your own system, you can have your own way of doing it, but 100% of the time you will have to conform or be the one that does something completely different. And the NFL will either see you succeed and do what you're doing, or you will fail and everyone will go, well, you just had a learning experience and we're not doing what you're doing. And that is the case. So I look towards the Atlanta Falcons going, Grady Jarrett, he's going to get money. Takk McKinley, in his years, he will get money. Vic Beasley, jury's still out. If he returns to 2016 form, expect him to get money. Expect a guy like Deion Jones to get money, but expect guys like Ricardo Allen and Keanu Neal to possibly not get their money if they're not playing at the highest level. Expect the Falcons to go out there and let go of guys like Desmond Trufant and Robert Alford, and instead allow guys like Isaiah Oliver, Justin Bethel, and Poole, and whoever they draft going forward to be quality starters instead. And allow that money to kind of seep out. Expect the Atlanta Falcons over the next couple of years to go, all right, time to upgrade the right tackle. You don't know what Jake Matthews is going to get, but if he gets good money, or if he doesn't even get any money at all, the Falcons will have to look at that position soon, especially the center position as well. Falcons will have to retool that. I'm not even worried about the running back position because I feel like that is a commodity just like corner. Corner is the running back of defense. You can go find that somewhere else. Obviously, go and take the top talent from the first round if you can get it, but otherwise play it safe and go grab guys that are of quality later in later rounds. It's not even that hard. It's very simple. So the NFL is going to continue to change very quickly. It's going to continue to get absolutely hairy and crazy, and I'm gonna be one of maybe a very small handful that are going to start saying, look, right tackles need to be drafted in the first round. If you can't get them first round, get them second round. Get the best quality you possibly can. Make sure your edges are taken care of before anything else. Don't worry about corners until later unless you're one of those top teams that can get that corner. Don't overpay for it. Don't overpay for it in draft picks. And definitely don't overpay in salary cap for large corners. Go get quality depth. You can never have enough of those. Go find them. They're in the late rounds. They're undrafted free agents. They can come out and surprise you. Don't worry about running backs until later, unless you can go get one of those all-perennial running backs, the Saquon Barkleys and the Leonard Fournettes and, those types, the Gurleys of the world. If you can afford to go get those, if you have the draft pick that is reasonably set for the value, go grab that guy. I'm not even sure where you put wide receivers, but I definitely put them under tight ends. Go grab a guy that can be super athletic for you and play the type of tight end that can move down the field and expose linebackers and safeties. And by the way, draft safeties very high. Free safeties, strong safeties. Go find guys that can play that down linebacker, that coverage linebacker position, and can play that strong or free safety, because they have to be the guys that take on these tight ends that are popping up all over the NFL. Just straight facts. Not that hard. So that's kind of where I stand now. And I look at the Atlanta Falcons, and I see that they're set up for the future. They're cap strained right now, but they have enough money to squeak out some moves, to smooth out some contracts, to rework some things, and at least get back on the tracks. That is the trend of the NFL that is going to start up, and you heard it here maybe second or third, because I'm not the first one to say that the NFL is changing. It is a league that is obviously running in a different direction than most other commentators and strategic foresight majors are predicting that it will go to, or those who are draftologists or those who are, cap mongers. They're all thinking of an old way, and they're going to be left in the tracks, in the dust of those following the trends that the Patriots and the Eagles and the Seahawks laid down. And what are those trends? We don't even have to go through the positional stuff. We just have to go with the trends. What do the Seahawks and the Patriots and the Eagles just basically say? You don't have to have elite corners. You must have elite offensive line and defensive lines. Defense is super important. Longevity for your team goes through your defense. It goes through no other position. Top QBs are extremely important, but who your backup is equally as important. Who your backup is equally as important as a depth perspective type thing. Look what the Eagles have done. They had Nick Foles. They traded him away. They got draft picks for it. They got great players off of those draft picks. Nick Foles hits free agency again. They pick him back up, and he wins a Super Bowl for them under the guise of being an elite quarterback because of Carson Wentz going out there and blowing up the league. And now Nick Foles' value is back to where it was again before he left Philly and was traded away. But that's a gamble I don't think that any other team may be able to pull off, because how many times are you going to get a great backup? Not many. Are the Falcons in a position to be able to do something like that? No. No one wants matchup. No one wants matchup. But if the Falcons were to be able to get some type of commodity like that with Ryan on a long-term contract, they could potentially trade those backups, have, currency for quarterbacks. But I think that that's more of an Eagles thing, and it's not really an NFL that I feel is extra, super, incredibly important. That the Seahawks established that defense, and the Eagles did as well. That defense is super important. The Seahawks and the Eagles showed that getting prime corners doesn't mean you have to go in the first round and get the best corner. Depth at corner and elite safeties, which the Seahawks proved many years ago, and nobody even, Bobby Wagner and Earl Thomas. We're talking about the guys back there working for the Seahawks. They proved this a long time ago. Having elite safeties, that's where the league's going. And corners are much more devalued now. You can go find those elite guys, but once they ask for mega money, you just go ahead, okay, all right, bye. Bye. We will trade you to somewhere else. You're a commodity. We can go find other guys like you. Yes, go play really, really well and drag somebody's cap situation down to hell. And maybe you'll be good for 5 years. Meanwhile, we'll keep producing the regular stuff, hit and miss on some corners, but most of them are going to be pretty good, and we'll continue to go forward. All right, I'm going to take a drink. So the Eagles and the Seahawks proved that safety play is super important. And they both proved that defensive balance is incredibly important. Doesn't matter what system you run, because obviously certain systems will look for certain types of corners and defensive ends and defensive tackles and linebackers and safeties. But having that quality there without paying a ridiculous price for it is the ultimate goal of every team, but was more practiced by the Eagles and the Seahawks over the last couple of years than anybody has gone out and proven. They won Super Bowls because of that. They also won Super Bowls on having quality offensive lines. And man, oh man, is it super important to make sure that your edges, your ends, your left tackle and right tackle are more important than anything else. Obviously, having a great signal caller and a great center with great communication for the offensive line is super, super important and part of the key of that. But protecting your edges at this point, when especially the right and left edges have now completely switched in importance because of right tackles being worse than left tackles. After years of saying left tackle is so important, right tackles are now just as important, if not more important. And the Patriots have proven that offense can run through a tight end while having complementary wide receivers, never having a number one wide receiver. Is anyone really here going to say that Julian Edelman or Amendola are top wide receivers? Has anybody really even seen out of other than Randy Moss, has anyone seen the wide receivers for New England? None of them are wide receivers. They're all little speedy dudes. They're all guys that can go down the field really quickly and open up a quick space for Tom Brady to abuse, and then they're yard after catch guys. if their spectacular catch was on a rating to 1 to 99, a lot of their spectacular catches are like in the 80s to 90s, if you want to talk about Madden terms. And a lot of the guys in the Patriots, again, the Patriots had a crap offensive line 2 years ago and an okay offensive line this past year. But just like the Eagles and just like the Seahawks over the last couple of years, they had a quality defense that was bend, don't break, a lot of role players, and a quality offensive line that was just bend, don't break. It broke a lot. There was a lot of injuries on that line. But the style of play was about the same from the Eagles and the Patriots. That's why that game was so, it could go either way, but then the Eagles just outgunned them and beat them up on defense because they just were so balanced. And that is the way that the NFL is going to start changing. It's going to be more balanced. It is going to be more balanced. The positions of, I have a star corner. There won't be that anymore. It will be star safeties. Star tight ends. We've already seen that. That trend has come and gone, but is very prevalent in what the Eagles were able to carve out as far as success is concerned. Having wide receivers that are capable, no crazy names, and having young running backs, guys still on rookie deals, that you could go get in the later rounds. That was what the Eagles have been able to do. Now, Jay Ajayi was acquired in a trade for beans. Beans. If you've ever seen the Mickey and the Giant Beanstalk, literally Donald going, beans? Beans. You sold the cow for beans. And that's what a lot of people have said about, the Eagles trading their draft picks for Jay Ajayi. You sold the cow. Draft picks. Quality. That's money right there. You don't know what you'll get in return for those draft picks. You get Jay Ajayi. And then Jay Ajayi comes out and stomps all over the Patriots. Stomps all over the Falcons. Walk their way through the Vikings. Eagles stomped on everybody by having a young running back who people had given up on in Miami because Miami just that's a tool organization. They're tools. I still think they're back in the old days with Dan Marino. A dude said Ryan Tannehill's gonna be the guy. Look, every time I see him, I just see Dan Marino on his face. Oh my Lord. You know you have quality when the quality shows itself. Also, you know if you have quality if your QB coaches have done enough to make that quality shine. Congratulations to the Atlanta Falcons for getting a quality quarterback and for locking that quarterback up again. On top of that, having quality QB coaches and offensive coordinators, and we can argue about that. I obviously will side with we haven't had very many offensive coordinators that have been of quality. But having quality offensive coordinators that have gotten the best out of Matt Ryan, I have not seen that in Miami. I have not seen that in Cleveland. I have not seen that in New Jersey. Tampa has been up and down. When you strike gold, you strike gold. If you're in New Orleans, you just got gold. You were given a gold nugget and you literally multiplied that. Congratulations. But don't tell me that everyone in the entire league has found their gold nugget, because they haven't. And definitely don't tell me that we cannot pay, and this is where we get into the next topic, you cannot pay Julio Jones and Matt Ryan bank of money and not expect for them, obviously, to ask for a lot of money. But you can't pay them mega money because you have other pieces to pay. No shit, Sherlock. The Atlanta Falcons will be paying these guys mega money because they are the best in the business. The Matt Ryans and Julio Jones of the world, you have to bow down to that. You have to go, okay, look, Julio Jones. As things progress, Julio Jones is going to morph into more of a possession wide receiver, and we know that. Why are we putting such high expectations of Julio Jones to make 20 touchdowns this year? He only needs about 6 or 7 touchdowns this year and just around, 1,500 yards to be considered still a top wide receiver in this league, without question. I don't need him to catch, 20 touchdown passes, but I need him to go out there and perform at peak times. And Matt Ryan, of course, this has to do with offensive coordinator and how well the connectivity between the offensive line and everyone else is able to withstand change. But Matt Ryan, up to this point, I have seen no reason why we should let go of Matt Ryan, nor do I see a reason why we shouldn't have paid Matt Ryan. Worthless gabber done by those in Falcons groups, Falcons Twitter, amongst people on the subway, people having, conversations at work. Such useless nonsense being talked about how we should not pay Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, or especially just if we just put Julio Jones on the side, put him on the shelf for just a second. Just Matt Ryan, why we shouldn't pay him. Which gets me on to my next topic. There is a problem with the Falcons fans and a racist mentality that is running through Falcons fans right now of the white quarterback that we've had plenty of time with. He has not gotten us our Super Bowl. We have been proven correct, and we need to move on to somebody that we want, our boy, our system, our way. And those of you that don't want to address that, just too bad. I'm going to go ahead and address it now. There is a racist mentality that is running through Atlanta Falcons fans. It's a blatant racism covered up by what they call football talk. But it is. It's a fan base that was spoiled by one of the best running quarterbacks of all time, who I cheered for. I wanted to succeed. And he messed up his own life and his own situation. We don't have to get into that. But then the whitewashing of the Atlanta Falcons organization, bringing in a guy that was more pocket passer, that was more, and it could have been any color quarterback that could have come in and been the pocket passer. But the fans that were spoiled by the Michael Vick of the world are now the same fans that are popping up saying that Matt Ryan should not be paid money because they're ready to move on to that same type and style of quarterback that they had back in the day, and they saw their opportunity and chance. And they cheered for the Falcons to go get Lamar Jackson. And they will cheer in 2019 and 2020 and 2021 and 2022 and beyond to continue to go after a quarterback that is a running style quarterback, that is a Russell Wilson, that is a Michael Vick, that is a Colin Kaepernick, that is a guy that will run like that will have success like that, but they will lean towards a black quarterback. And that's really sad because I don't care what color the skin of a quarterback is. I care about the talent level. And why would I let go of such a rare opportunistic talent, a talent that obviously is top 5 or top 10 in the league? Why would I let go of that talent just to take somebody who I don't even know will start this year in Lamar Jackson? Why would I take a talent that is outside of the range of the Atlanta Falcons when we have other things to worry about? And it's awful. It's awful to hear from this fan base. It's awful to hear from my own friends and family. It's awful to hear from Falcons fans on the street that they would rather have Michael Vick back playing with the Atlanta Falcons right now, or a quarterback that plays like Michael Vick, that is from the same situation that they can relate to, versus having a perennial talent that will most likely have some level of involvement with the Hall of Fame in Matt Ryan. They would much rather have, the unknown, the chance to have the same mistake that we made, than have the talent that we already have. And look, I'm not saying that this is a narrative that is being pinned on the Falcons 100%, nor the media has caught up to it or want to report on it, but it is a truth that we all have to come to terms with. White, black, yellow, purple, maroon, whatever color your skin is, we have to come to terms with the fact that because of this political nature of things, because of the way that the Falcons organization has gone down, because of the tension that's going on in the United States and within the fan base as far as the sport is concerned, and their thoughts on Matt Ryan and what he has done, and what the media has been posting for so long, and it doesn't matter who you listen to, you know, the 4-letter, 3-letter, 2-letter networks that are posting what they want to post about the Falcons, there is a brooding nature underneath the skin of the organization and the fan base that is angry that Matt Ryan is the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, that he can't run with his legs, that they want a more athletic quarterback, and that usually boils down to, man, I wish we had Michael Vick back, or we had a Russell Wilson, or we had a Lamar Jackson that can be my homeboy, my guy. I can relate to him because he relates to me because he looks like me. If we had the opportunity to grab an all-perennial talent that was a Michael Vick style of guy, that was refined, that knew how to throw the ball, that knew how to run, that was electric, I would not even wince, I would not even blink at the opportunity of grabbing that type of guy, but that style of guy isn't needed now. With a guy that we have on this team right now, a man, let's not even call him a guy, a man who obviously has done everything in his power and will continue to do everything in his power to be the first one and last one out at camps and workouts and meetings, and will continue to work hard for this organization. You cannot say that he has not improved year to year, and you cannot say, for those of you that are just biased towards Matt Ryan and want him to succeed no matter what, you cannot say, and I will play devil's advocate here, cannot say that Matt Ryan has not also had deficiencies and problems, but has been the reason the Atlanta Falcons have had success. Do not tell me the Falcons have had only success through defense. Do not tell me that the Falcons have only had success because of Kyle Shanahan. The only reason that the Falcons have been good is because Matt Ryan has been there to take the fall, to work hard and get us the touchdowns, to garner respect from defenses that know that Matt Ryan can sling it. And only over the last couple of years, and we've seen it in his first years, and we've seen it in his last couple of years, that Matt Ryan has shimmied towards first downs. Let's laugh at that for a second. Matt Ryan's no runner. But Matt Ryan knows how to shimmy for about 5-10 yards, slide, and go, oh, Matt Ryan, look at you. You ran. Didn't expect that. Neither did the defense either, and that's why they let him get 10 yards. Wow. Matt Ryan, you just ran? Woo, you taking a risk. Next time you run, I'm going to bop you. So, look, I'm not saying that every Falcons fan is racist. I'm not implying that racism is running rampant. And especially someone who does not have the room to speak as a white male. I am not pointing at the black Atlanta Falcons fans for not being loyal. No, far from it. But I am saying the discussion has leaned toward that. And that's sad. It's kind of depressing to see the conversation lean that way. In the way people write, in the way people tweet, in the way people do live shows, in the way that people are doing radio shows. The underlining problem area that has never gone away is rearing its ugly head because of contract situations, and we all knew that was coming. Matt Ryan's going to sign a new deal, and there were so many people that were hoping that he wouldn't, that we would go quarterback in the first round of 2018, that we would trade Matt Ryan away. We'd get rid of that. Oh, thank God. Now we can restart. Now we can do this all over again. Now we can do it the way that I think we should do it. Well, that's not the way that it needs to be done. And I think that's really sad. I think that is just awful to hear that type of conversation is being had in prominent Falcons groups and on message boards and in the media, especially radio. Man, oh man, the radio is hitting hard to garner that subject. Say that loyalty should be in question. I don't question any Falcons fans' loyalty, whether they follow my show, they hate me, they love me, or they don't follow my show or don't know about me yet. I would never, ever question the loyalty of any fan whatsoever, all the way down to the moment that they wear another team's jersey. I will not question their loyalty, because if there's anything that Falcons fans, any of us as Falcons fans, understand, that logo means everything. The Dirty Birds mean everything to us. As a fan base, man, it's Falcons. As an Atlanta fan base, it's Falcons and Braves. And for those of you that follow soccer, it's now Atlanta United. And that's it, man. That's it. Don't tell me about Hawks loyalty, because there isn't any. But man, Braves, Falcons, and Atlanta United, that is Atlanta sports scene right now. That is loyalty. That is hardcore loyalty. I've seen people with tattoos on them with Falcons logos, Braves logos. And I would not be too surprised if Atlanta United logos start popping up on arms and chests and backs and legs. Not be too surprised if that begins a trend, because it's a hot team in Atlanta right now. That's the reason why they call it Hot Atlanta, because our teams get hot. Do we finish every time? Not sure. Jury's out on that. But we have excitement in our teams. I think people are putting the microscope on positions that don't need microscopes put on. And it's just awful to hear from your local media in Atlanta, or the people that write articles, or those who tweet, or the average fan that comes out and comes to my show or goes to any other Falcons related shows on YouTube or anywhere else, that the conversation actually is, and no one wants to bring it up, but you hear snippets of it, you see the underlining tones, that racism is a part of this, and there's no need, want, or room for that type of talk in sports. Nowhere. Not golf, not tennis, not football, not basketball, not baseball. Racism or race as a reason to hate or to despise or to say that a player does not deserve a contract or that we should move on from someone, that should never be the underlining factor to anything. It shouldn't even be, and this is going a little bit further into a political topic that I don't think that has any room on my show, but I just want to make a point, a fact, that race should not be a determining factor in anyone's lives anywhere, for any reason whatsoever. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, European, Middle Eastern, African, Australian, South American, Canadian. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what the color of your skin is. And it's easy for somebody that's white like myself to say that, but in actions, I've had to prove that. I don't care about the stereotypes. I don't care about the racist decisions other people's make. I don't feel that that belongs in reality. It's just not supposed to happen. It shouldn't happen. And as far as I'm concerned, most of my players are black. Most of my top players are black. And fuck yeah, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. What of it? And I hope that everyone else around here understands that I don't care about racist tendencies or the underlining tones. I will, on this show, always speak the truth. And the truth is that some fans are bringing up some BS, and I'm calling them out for it. And I'll say it right here, right now. Dirty Bird Nation and all the peeps in Dirty Bird Nation that are admins, y'all need to start kind of locking that up. Those of you on Twitter that have Twitter followers that are saying things like that, y'all need to put messages out. Full on assault. Lockdown. Race has nothing to do with it. And people should be ashamed to even mention or imply that that is a reason why someone should not get a contract, that should not get paid. It should be about team, loyalty, and hard work, and that's all that matters. 100%. So, first of all, I want to say race is not an issue. Second of all, I want to thank our veterans and all the peeps out there that are working hard for our military and for our services, whether they be firefighters, or doctors, or policemen and women. Thank you for your service. Thank you for helping us create a society that's worth living for, worth fighting for, allowing us to enjoy sports and all the great things that we have in this country. And I will urge you and urge all the general public as well to continue working hard to fight racism, to fight religious exclusion, and to fight for what is right. Politically, spiritually, mentally, physically. I will continue, no matter what path, whether we think different on any subject, I will continue to post here on YouTube, post on Twitter, and post anywhere else on social media that I know that everyone has different beliefs. These are what mine are. Here's the discussion table. Come discuss them with me if they're sports related. And otherwise, I will continue to keep an open mind. Always. Always. I'll never not be me. I may differ in opinion with you, and I may handle my mental illnesses differently than someone else will. But I continue to encourage everyone, no matter who they are, to continue fighting the fight and come up and talk and discuss and debate. And maybe you'll change my mind. Maybe I'll change yours. Maybe I'll just speak the facts and the truth here on YouTube, and we'll continue being real Falcons fans. Continue being a progressive society. Continue to remember who we are and who the ones that came before us are. So, again, thank all of you. Thank all of you that follow my show. Thank all of you that subscribe to my channel. Thank all of you who watch my videos and support me on Patreon and support me through PayPal and you know, comment in my comment section. Thank you. Thank you for being amazing, being true, being honest, being fair, fighting against things that obviously have no room in our society, and continually being great fans for your organizations that you follow, no matter if you're a Falcons fan, Saints fan, Panthers, Bucks, Eagles, Patriots, Browns, doesn't matter. Thank you for being loyal and true fans to your organizations, and thank you for having great debates and discussion here on Unintentional Grounding. I'm going to switch tones here. What we're going to have to do is I'm going to restart the stream, and I'm going to play some Final Fantasy on here. I will open up the Final Fantasy chat to open questions. No matter what you want to talk about, movies, video games, political stuff, more Falcons talk, more football talk, more open discussion, genuine open discussion with anything that you guys want to talk about on the stream that I'm about to start. And I'll be playing video games, so as soon as this ends, wait about 2 minutes, and then the new stream's going to start up. And y'all can listen to me there and talk some more if you want to hang around. I see Christopher Perkins asking if I will do Terrell McClain film. I'm not sure if I want to do it because I just don't have ample film on him playing the position that he will be playing properly. Okay? So it's just kind of hard for me to delve into that when he was playing a completely different position last year. But just read Brady seriously wants to retire, just like I predicted. Falcons freak, getting him. I will have on the show Vanilla Falcon Strikes and Real Pat Man. You've seen them in the chat. I will have them live on the show in the next week or two. I'm going to be trying to put that together. And I'll also be putting together some new sack videos that I've been working on. I don't have any player videos that are spotlight player videos that I'm going to be working on anytime soon, because as of right now, I'm planning my trip up to open camp in the end of July, and I'm going to be talking to my wife about that. She's going to be heading with me. We're going to be vlogging all the way up to Atlanta and going to training camp, so I hope to see some of you guys up there. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. Y'all are listening to nothing but the facts and the truth here on Unintentional Grounding Live, morning coffee session, and Atlanta Falcons Q&A, as well as NFL talk. We will have more open NFL discussion and talk going later. And you guys definitely tune in just a few minutes when we go straight into video gaming with your boy, Lieutenant Dan, UNGR_show on Twitter and Instagram. Hit the like button, hit the follow button for subscribe to the channel here. Definitely hit the notification bell on the front page of Unintentional Grounding's YouTube channel so that you get all the news and updates and live show notifications. And if you'd like to support me on Patreon with your own money, you may do that. $12 in a year, $1 a month to help increase upload quality and upload times, as well as increased content for all. And I will now be doing live shows for Patreons only on Patreon starting tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be doing a Patreon only live show. So only those who paid through Patreon will be able to see my live show, and I will be talking about Michael Vick. So those of you who pay that $1 in Patreon, become a new Patreon supporter, you may come in and watch the Patreon show on Michael Vick and why he was so good, and what was electrifying about him, and my favorite memories and reactions to some of the Michael Vick plays that put him on the map. My name's Lieutenant Dan. This was Unintentional Grounding Live in the morning. Prepare yourselves for the next show in just a few minutes. We're going to be playing some video games. I hope you guys enjoy. Peace, Hair Grease, David Wright, Evan Thompson, Falcons Freak, Caesar Brito, Laffy Taffy Lover, Christopher Perkins, Mac Mike 1706, Real Pat Man, and all the rest of the fans and grounders who followed me today. Thank you so much. See you guys next time. I'll see most of you at the end of this show for the Unintentional Grounding gaming session. Salute, peace, hair grease, out.